I took a deep breath as I scanned the dense forest in front of me, a sense of unease creeping up my spine. As a national park ranger, I used to be spending my days amongst the trees and wildlife, but something about this particular area gave me an eerie feeling. I shuddered as a chill ran through my body, despite the warm sun beating down on my back. Trying to shake off the feeling, I moved on deeper into the park, following the winding path that led to the heart of the woods. I've been working in this park for 5 years now, and I prided myself of knowing every inch of its vast landscape. But there was one part of the park that I had always avoided, even though it was considered a must-see spot for tourists. It was an old ranger station, perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the sprawling valley below. The station had been abandoned for years, and rumors had spread about strange occurrences happening in and around the building. Some claimed to have shadowy figures moving in the windows at night, while others spoke of hearing eerie whispers coming from within. Despite my reservations, I had assigned to check on the station and make sure it was still structurally sound. I reluctantly made my way towards it, my heart racing with every step. As I approached the station, a sense of dread washed over me. The building was even more dilapidated than I remembered, with boarded-up windows and a rusty, creaky door. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door, my flashlight casting a beam of light into the dark interior. The musty smell of damp wood and neglect hit me like a wall. I could hear the scurrying of small animals in the corners. I made my way through in the main room, noticing that most of the furniture had been knocked over and the walls were covered in graffiti. As I started up the stairs to check the second floor, I heard a loud crash coming from behind me. I turned quickly, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing there. My rational mind told me it was just a raccoon or some other small creature, but my instincts told me otherwise. I continued up to the second floor, my hand gripping my flashlight tightly. The hallway was lined with doors, and I slowly made my way down, checking each one to make sure it was secure. The last door at the end of the hall was slightly ajar, and I could hear a faint scratching noise coming from within. I cautiously pushed the door open, my heart racing as I prepared for whatever was inside. To my surprise, the room was completely empty except for a single rocking chair in the corner. The scratching sound seemed to be coming from it, and as I approached, I saw a name etched into the back of the chair. Evelyn. As I reached out to touch the chair, it suddenly started rocking violently in its own. I stumbled back in shock, my mind racing to come up with a logical explanation. But before I could process anything, I heard a blood-curdling scream coming from downstairs. I quickly made my way back down, my adrenaline pumping as I rushed towards the sound. When I reached the main room, I saw a figure standing in front of the boarded-up windows, its back on me. "Hello?" I called out, trying to steady my voice. "Is anyone there?" The figure turned towards me in a dim light, and I could see that it was just a woman, her hair hanging in tangles around her face. Her eyes were hollow and lifeless. Her mouth was twisted into a horrifying grin. "Leave this place," she hissed, her voice sending shivers down my spine. "Or face the consequences." My hand shook as I reached my radio to call for backup. But as I fumbled with the buttons, the woman suddenly vanished into the thin air. I stood frozen with fear, my mind struggling to comprehend what just happened. But before I could process the situation any further, I heard coming footsteps from upstairs. My heart raced as I slowly made my way up the stairs, dreading what I'd find. When I reached the top, I saw all the doors were now wide open, with a gentle breeze was blowing through the hallway. I stepped forward, my curiosity getting the better of me, and as I approached the last door, I saw a small window that had been hidden behind a cabinet. Through the window, I could see a beautiful view of the valley below, the sun setting behind the mountains. But what caught my eye was the figure standing outside, watching me with a malevolent grin. It was Evelyn, the same woman I had seen downstairs, but this time she was surrounded by a group of shadowy figures. I could hear their eerie whispers, urging me to join them, to leave the earthly realm and become a part of the twisted world. I quickly backed away, my heart pounding in my chest, and ran down the stairs out of the ranger station and into the safety of the bright sunlight. As I made my way back down to my own station, my mind couldn't help but replay the events of that day. The reports I wrote about the abandoned ranger station weren't detailed, simply stating that the building was unsafe and needed to be torn down. But deep down, I knew the truth. The national park I had loved and worked for it in years was home to something dark and dangerous. And I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets and horrors it held within its vast wilderness.